Hello. Hi. Can you please type in the chat if you can see and hear me okay? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Tutor Nicole, and I will be teaching the live lesson today. I'm going to give you a few minutes to log in and get ready for the session. While we are waiting, please type in the chat, where are you calling in from today? Okay, so what country are you in? And then could you also type in the chat if you can see and hear me? Awesome. Hello from Italy and Nepal, Indonesia. Hi. My name is Tutor Nicole. I'm from the United States. Where are you from? Hi from Lithuania, Saudi Arabia, Japan, China. Hi from India and Hungary. Hi from Sri Lanka. Hello. Hi from the Philippines and China, Saudi Arabia and Brazil. Awesome. So the video and audio is clear. Thank you. Good morning. Hi from Oman, Libya. Hi from Italy. Hi from Yemen. Awesome. From the United Kingdom. We have people from all over the world. This is awesome. Hi from Turkey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Hi from Bangladesh, India, Saudi Arabia. Hello. Hello from Sri Lanka. Hi. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are learning active versus passive voices. Again, my name is Tutor Nicole, and I'm a tutor on Cambly. If you don't know what Cambly is, it's an online English learning platform where native English-speaking tutors help others learn English. And every Sunday we have our live session. This is actually a two-part series. So this Sunday I will teach you active voice, and next Sunday I will teach you passive voice. But today we're going to learn a little bit about active and passive voice, and then we'll focus more on active voice. So again, this is a two-part series. So today we're learning active voice, and next Sunday we're learning passive voice. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Tutor Nicole, and today we are learning all about the active voice. Okay? So today on May 29th, this is again part 1, active voice. Okay? So what is the active voice? Do you guys know what the active and passive voices are? It is typically like a tone that you use when writing or speaking. And so sentences in the active voice have the subject before the verb. And you'll see the biggest difference in active versus passive voices here is that the subject goes first, and then the verb, and then the object. Okay, the difference with this is the passive voice has the object first, and then the verb, and then the subject. You're more commonly going to be hearing people using active voice, but a lot of people use passive voice in like news reports, for example. And so you'll see with the active voice, it's what a person or thing does. Okay, passive is what is being done to someone or something. Okay, so we have the same exact subject, verb, and object used in two different ways. So the active voice, Tim hit the ball. Tim is the subject, Hit is the verb, the ball is the object. So Tim hit the ball. This is active voice. In passive voice, it would be the ball was hit by Tim. Okay, so do you guys see the difference there? It's the subject, verb, then object, and then here it's reverse. So it's the object, verb, and then the subject. Okay, so that, again, is active voice. Yeah, and Calipan, you said it really well. It's when the subject performs the verb of a sentence. That's when it's an active voice. Good job. Now, passive voice, again, is when it puts the subject after the verb. Okay, so you talk about what happened, and then you talk about who did it, who performed the verb. Okay. Typically, sentences in the active voice use stronger verbs. In the active voice, the sentence's subject performs the action. The subject is always a noun or a pronoun. Okay, and you'll see the subject is someone like Tim, I, Mary, he, she, the family. Okay, and that again is when the subject performs the action. And this is the most commonly used is the active voice. So some example sentences of active voice is Shakira likes bird watching. Shakira is the subject, likes is the verb, bird watching is the object. Okay. Another example is her favorite time of day is the morning. Okay, so action, verb, object. I mean, not action, subject. It always starts with the subject. Okay. And so just a few more explanations of the active and passive, and then we will get into some practice. It's important to structure your sentence so the subject performs the verb. Okay, so the subject is always performing the verb, whereas in the passive voice, the verb is acted upon the subject. Okay. So active voice tends to have more of a direct and clear tone. It helps the reader focus on the subject. So what is the subject doing? Okay, so it's a lot more clear and direct this way. Active voice is most commonly used in things like emails, blogs, and essays. It's helpful to communicate ideas, themes, and facts. And you'll see up here again, it's just a lot more direct. I made a cake versus a cake was made by me. Okay, so it's what you're doing, what the subject is doing. So another example, and I'll show you side by side of active and passive voice. Here it says in active voice, I, the subject, poured the solution in the beaker and heated it to 100 degrees. Okay, so again, it is the subject, the verb, and then the object. So that's active. The same sentence written in passive voice, the solution, the object, was poured, verb, into the beaker and heated to 100 degrees. You'll notice that the passive voice doesn't always have to have a subject, but you'll see that the object comes before the verb. Okay. All right, one more little example, and then we'll get started with some practice. So, again, active voice is when an actor, think about it, an actor acts on a target. So active voice, the actor acts on a target or an object. I walk the dog. Not the dog was walked by me, but I walk the dog. Okay, so in simpler terms, the actor, the verb, and then the target. As you will see up here, object. Okay? So we're going to do some examples. And I'm going to ask you, is it active or passive? Okay. So I'll read you a sentence and just type in the chat whether it is active or passive voice. Okay. So the first one we have is Adam visiting us today. What I want you guys to notice here, Adam is the subject, visit is the verb, and then this is the target. So, is this active or passive voice? All right, nice job, you guys. You're correct. It is active. Virtual high five. Good job. The next example. Will we be visited by Adam today? Will we be visited by Adam today? Is this one active or passive voice? And why? Why do you think it is active or passive? Okay, you are exactly right. This is passive voice. Okay, why is it passive? Because the subject, being Adam, is towards the end of the sentence. You'll see up here the subject always goes towards the end. And you'll see the verb is here and then the target is up here. Good job. Yeah, so the object first, the subject last with passive. Okay, we have a few more examples. Again, type in the chat if you think this is active or passive. It says, please remove your shoes before entering my house. Please remove your shoes before entering my house. And you'll notice that there's no subject here at the beginning. But yeah, it is active voice. Okay, because remove your shoes. Okay, so the verb is first, your shoes is the object. So the object is not first. Okay, so very good job. That is active voice. Next is get out. Get out. This is kind of hard. This is a lot harder because it doesn't follow necessarily our code here. But what would get out be? Okay, good job. This is also active voice. Okay, this is also active voice. To the contrary of this one, what would this be? You are required to exit. You are required to exit. Instead of get out, you are required to exit. You are required to exit. You are required to exit. This is actually a passive voice. You are required to exit is actually passive voice because it is what is being done to someone or something. The subject is being acted upon. Okay, so the subject being you is being acted upon and is being required to exit. That one was a confusing one. Okay, next we have shoes should be removed before entering my house. Shoes should be removed before entering my house. So which one is the object? The object are the shoes. Okay, so if you know that the object is going first, would that be active or passive? Should be is the verb. Yeah, so this one is a little bit easier, right? And it was passive. Good job. That one was passive voice. Okay, so what we're going to do next is I'm going to give you guys a passive sentence, and I want you to make it active. So for example, if I were to say the ball was hit by Tim, and I say make it active, you're going to flip-flop, And you're going to say, Tim hit the ball. Okay, so you're just going to take the subject, move it up, and then you're going to bring the verb up and then the object last. Okay, so again, our next activity is you're going to make the passive voice active. So you're going to change it. Okay? So this is passive, and you're going to make it active. It says, tea is made by Nancy. Tea is made by Nancy. So tea is the object. Remember where the object should go for active. Tea made is the verb. Nancy is the subject. Okay. And notice how it doesn't say tea was made. So is made. Okay, so to make this active, it would be Nancy makes tea or Nancy makes the tea. Good. Okay. The tea is made by Nancy becomes Nancy makes the tea. Good job. Nice work. Next, this is a passive voice, and you're going to make it active. The lion was killed by the hunter. So, the lion is the object. Killed was the verb. Hunter is the subject. So we have to flip everything. And notice how it says was killed. So this is past tense, right? So the lion was killed by the hunter. And we're going to make it into active voice. I see a lot of correct answers. And it would be the hunter killed the lion. All right, good job. Okay, because notice that it was in past tense. Was killed. So that's why we keep it as killed. The hunter killed the lion. Good job. Nice work. Okay, let's do one more. Our next one says, the windows have been cleaned. The windows have been cleaned. Okay, so the windows are the object. And notice that there's no subject here. So the windows have been cleaned is the verb. So basically, what would we do? What would we do here? What would we do if there's no subject? Would we say cleaned the windows? Is that a sentence? Or would we have to put something in front of the sentence? So we have to find a subject. But we don't know who cleaned the windows. So you guys are exactly right. Someone has cleaned the windows. Yeah. Someone has cleaned the windows. This was difficult because we didn't have a subject in the passive voice, but we didn't know who cleaned the windows. So that's why we would say someone has cleaned the windows. Yeah, good job. That was hard. And we don't know if it was a girl or a boy. We don't know if it was many people, which is why we say someone and not he or she or they. Yeah, you guys all did really good. Okay, do we have any questions so far? I'm going to pause here real quick, and I just want to remind you guys, if you joined this Cambly Live a little late, don't worry. You can come back to our YouTube channel. Under the live videos, you can rewatch all of our videos from the beginning. So after this session, this will be posted to the YouTube channel, and you can watch it from the very beginning. Okay. So don't worry about that. Again, if you join late, just come back and watch it from the beginning after we post our live. Awesome. Okay, so some questions. So maybe having a little bit of trouble with the tenses. Let's pause here, and before we get back to another activity, I want to show you guys some of the tenses back here. Okay, so here I have 6 different tenses in the active and passive voice. And I want us to take a look at this, and hopefully this will help us with our verb tenses. So the present simple, the active voice would be I do my work. I is the subject, do is the verb, work is the object. Now we're going to flip that for the passive. And for this, we would say my work is done. Okay, my work is done. For the present continuous, I'm doing my work. Passive, my work is being done. Okay, can you see this pretty well? Can you guys see the board okay? The past simple would be I did my work. The passive, my work was done. Okay, past continuous. I was doing my work. My work was being done. Present perfect. I have done my work. My work has been done. And last but not least, the past perfect. I had done my work. My work had been done. So towards the end of this session, I'm going to have you guys write a few sentences talking about your day in the active voice. And next Sunday, I'll have you do the same thing in the passive voice. And it would be helpful for you to look up here and see how the verbs are broken down based on the tense and how the sentences are structured in active and passive based on the tense. It is very complicated to understand. So I'm going to stand to the side so you can get a screenshot. Okay. And later when we talk, you can refer to this poster right here that explains the active versus passive in these different sentences. Okay. So that is a really great question, Anan. With the passive voice, you don't need to always have the subject at the end, but with active voice, you focus on the subject, therefore you need the subject in active. Okay. But yeah, with the passive, you don't need to put by me, but you can. It's optional. Yeah, so that's a really good point. So instead of I do my work is done. And then if you want, you could also say by me. But since you have my at the beginning, you know who is the person doing the work. Okay? Any more questions before we move on? Any more questions? Okay. Take the camera a little closer to the screen, sure. Okay. All right, can you see a little better now? Okay, good. So let's go ahead and move on. We have one last activity to wrap up our lesson, and then I'm gonna let you ask any questions that you would like. And our activity is I'm going to give you a subject, verb, and object, and I'm going to have you make a sentence. Okay, and you can use the different tenses behind me to make your sentences in the active voice. Okay, so again, our activity is we're going to make this into an active voice sentence. Okay? And again, you can make it in any verb tense that you want to practice. Okay, so for example, the subject is Anna, the verb is paint, and the object is house. Okay, so if it is Anna paint house, you could say Anna painted the house, Anna paints the house, Anna was painting the house. Okay, so you can make it in any verb tense. I just did the past simple, and I said Anna painted the house for my example. But I want you to practice with all the verb tenses and make some sentences using Anna paint house in active tense, an active voice. Okay, so some examples we have is Anna is painting the house. Anna was painting her house. Yeah, and we don't have to say the house, right? We could say her house. Very good. Okay, and so if you were to say the house was painted by Anna, that is passive voice, right? And we wanna practice today on active voice. Next Sunday, we will practice with passive. Oh, you could really spice it up and you could say Anna is painting her parents' house, right? We don't know whose house. Awesome. Yeah, so these are all good active voice sentences. Awesome. Anna paints her house. Anna has painted her house. Anna has been painting the house since yesterday. Awesome. Good. And so with all these sentences, it's really important to make sure you put the subject first because that's active voice. So the subject and then the verb and then the object. And so if you followed that, just like this up here, subject, verb to object, then you are writing in the active voice. Good job. So the next one we have is dad post video. Dad post video. And so again, you are going to make a few sentences in the active voice. Here are some examples in verb tenses. An example I used was, Dad posted the video. Okay. Okay, if you wanted to say that he posted it yesterday, you would say, Dad posted a video yesterday. Dad posted the video. Dad was posting the video. Good. Awesome. And so with all of these sentences that you guys are making, it's really important to notice that you're doing it exactly right in the active voice because you're starting with the subject and then you do the verb and then you end with the object. The object being the video, the verb is post, and the subject is dad. Dad posted a funny video on TikTok. You could say dad is posting a video. Those are all perfect examples. Yeah, good job, everybody. Nice work. Okay. Now, the next example we have, the subject is the teacher, grade is the verb, and the object is paper. Okay, and so again, you can use it in any tense, but the object, again, is paper, the verb is grade, and the subject is teacher. And we are making a few sentences using the active voice. And so my example sentence would be, the teacher graded the papers. You could say the teacher grades the papers. You could say the teacher was grading the papers from English class. grade, grade means to make marks. And for example, a grade might be 100%, 90%. Okay, so that is what grade is. Good. And if you were to write in the passive voice, remember you would say something like the paper was graded by the teacher or the paper was graded. But when we're talking in active voice, it's the teacher, then the verb, and then the paper. So the teacher grades the paper. So some examples that you guys have had or that you have written. Let's see. The teacher had been grading the papers. The teacher grades many papers. Okay. Awesome. These are really good examples. Good. I like that we're practicing with our verb tenses too. Very good job. Okay. Let's move on to our last example. The subject is the student. The verb is read. The object is a book. So I'd like you to make a sentence using the active voice. You can choose any verb tense. And we have the subject is student, the verb is to read, the object is a book. My example is the student reads a book. Okay, and I'm following this. The student reads a book. Not the book is read by the student, but the student reads a book. Okay, and some examples that you guys have written. The student has been reading books all day. The student was reading the book last night. Okay, the student reads a business book at the library. I love making these sentences a little more complex. Good job. The student was reading a book during class. Awesome. The student has to read 3 books. The student is reading a great book. I love these sentences. These are super great. Awesome job, you guys. So, our last activity is we are going to write a paragraph in the active voice telling me what you did today. So I know depending on what country we're in, it might be morning, afternoon, or evening. If it's your morning, maybe you could talk about that you woke up and did all these things, but we're going to write 2 to 3 sentences about what you did today using the active voice. Okay, the subject might be I, it might be my family, it might be we, right? There's a bunch of different verbs you could use and a bunch of different objects, okay? So what I might say about what I did today in the active voice is I ate breakfast at 7 a.m. Okay. Next, I might say I walked my dog on the bike trail. And then I got ready for Cambly Live. Okay, so just write 2 to 3 sentences in the active voice, and maybe you can comment on each other's, okay? And I will read some of your guys's for the Cambly. Okay, I made my bed. I got a haircut in the morning. I did all my homework in the morning. I joined Cambly in the morning and just finished my Cambly lesson. And now I'm studying the Cambly active voice. I helped my mom cook food. I woke up at 7 a.m. I met my old friends in the park. I knit a little scarf. That sounds wonderful. Awesome. I ate dinner. So, everything you guys are writing is really great because you are sticking to writing in the active voice. Okay, so you're talking about your subject, which is yourself, right? What did I do? Something that you did, a verb, and then the 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 word that the verb took object to. And so these sentences are really awesome, you guys. And next Sunday, when we are practicing the same activity, it might be a little more challenging to write in the passive voice. And so, after learning what the active and passive voice are, I want to ask you guys, do you speak and write more using the active voice or using the passive voice? Personally, I think I use the active voice more when I'm talking and writing because I think it's a little more challenging to think of the object before the subject for me. But what is it like for you? Do you think you use the active voice more? And let's say you do use the passive voice. Can you give me an example? When do you use passive voice? Or when do you use active voice? Yeah, me too. I also tend to use active voice more. Yeah. Okay. And then why do you think? Why? Why do you use active or passive voice more? Okay. So, yeah, and maybe work meetings, you use passive voice more. I could see that. Does anyone ever watch the news? Is the news typically more in passive voice or active voice? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the mobile was stolen by the thief, right? In articles and in news, they typically tend to use the passive voice more. You're right. Good job. All right, guys. Well, whenever you get the chance, just make sure to type your 2 to 3 sentences using active. Um, let's see. Before we wrap up today, are there any questions regarding the active or passive voice? If so, just type your questions in the chat. Again, today was part 1 of our active and passive voice series. My name is Tutor Nicole, and I'm teaching both. Today, we learned about the active voice, and next Sunday at 2 p.m. UTC, we are learning all about the passive voice. And so before next Sunday, just come ready to ask any questions about the passive voice. But other than that, are there any more questions? Yeah, Vladimir, I agree. Passive voices are more formal when writing papers. Yeah, good. Well, I had so much fun with you guys today. Thank you so much for joining our live session today. I do have a promotion code for you. If you would like to get up to 36% off of your yearly subscriptions, just go to Cambly and use the promo code GOLIVE. Okay, you could also click the link in this video and it could get you up to 36% off of your yearly subscriptions. If you don't know what Cambly is, it's an online English learning platform where you're paired with native English speakers to practice your English. I myself am a tutor on Cambly, and I love it. It is so fun. Again, if you came late or if you missed this lesson, you can rewatch this video by clicking the link in the chat or just going back and watching this video after we're done today. And again, if you want up to 36% off, just click the link in the description or type in Go Live. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you all next Sunday. We're going to be talking about passive voice. Until then, have a lovely morning, afternoon, and evening. And thank you. All right. Bye, guys. See you later. Bye.